At 3 a.m., you're asleep. But somewhere in the world, thousands of people are still tapping cards, buying groceries, booking flights, and paying for things online. And while you sleep, a company can keep making money from the movement of that money. It doesn't sell the coffee. It doesn't own the store. It doesn't manufacture the product. So who is making money every time the payment goes through? The answer is Visa. But Visa isn't simply a credit card company. It's something more interesting, a massive payment network connecting consumers, businesses, and financial institutions. And that's what makes its business model so powerful. Visa doesn't need to own the restaurant where you eat. It doesn't need to manufacture the phone you're buying. It needs to be part of the system that moves the payment. So how does that system actually work? To understand it, we have to look at what happens in the few seconds after you tap your card. When most people hear Visa, they picture a credit or debit card. But the card itself isn't really the whole business. Banks and other financial institutions issue Visa-branded cards. Businesses accept those cards, and Visa operates the technology network that helps connect the different sides of the transaction. That network is called VisaNet. Think about what happens when you tap your card. The store needs to know whether the payment can go through. Financial institutions need to communicate. The transaction has to be checked, processed, and completed securely. And all of that needs to happen incredibly fast. Visa says its network can process up to 83,000 transaction messages per second. But speed isn't the biggest secret. The real power comes from something much simpler: scale. Visa doesn't need to make a huge amount of money from one individual purchase. It needs enormous numbers of payments moving through its network. Think about a normal day. Someone buys lunch. Someone else books a flight. Another person buys groceries. A company pays a supplier. Someone taps their phone at a store. Each transaction is small compared with the size of the global economy. But multiply that activity across millions of businesses and consumers, and the numbers become enormous. In fiscal 2025, Visa processed about 257.5 billion transactions on its networks. Its payments volume was about $14.2 trillion, and its net revenue reached about $40 billion. These numbers aren't the story by themselves. The important part is what they reveal. Visa doesn't need to win every purchase. It needs to remain part of the payment system behind as many purchases as possible. One payment is small. Billions of payments are something completely different. Here is where Visa's scale becomes even more important. Visa doesn't care whether you're buying a burger, a laptop, or a plane ticket. Its business isn't about choosing what you buy. Its business is being part of the transaction. And as more consumers move toward electronic payments, more businesses need ways to accept those payments. Visa reported nearly 5 billion payment credentials in 2025. Its network also reached more than 175 million merchant locations. That creates a powerful network effect. More consumers make the network useful to more businesses. More businesses make the network useful to more consumers. And the larger that network becomes, the harder it is for a new competitor to simply start from zero and replace it. But there's another change happening underneath all of this. The payment itself is changing. The plastic card is no longer the whole story. Today, people tap phones. They use digital wallets. They shop online. Businesses move money electronically. And Visa has expanded beyond basic transaction processing into areas such as security, fraud prevention, authentication, data, and other payment services. That matters because Visa can build more services around the same payment ecosystem. The card may be sitting in your pocket, but the real business is happening inside the infrastructure behind it. And this is where the title starts to make sense. Visa doesn't literally make money because you're sleeping. It makes money from the enormous amount of payment activity happening around the world. Some of that activity happens while you're awake. Some happens while you're asleep. But the network doesn't stop. At 3 a.m., the system can still be moving payments. And Visa's business is designed to operate at that scale. The most interesting thing about Visa isn't the card. It's the infrastructure behind the card. A plastic card can be replaced. A phone can change. A digital wallet can change. But the network connecting consumers, businesses, and financial institutions is much harder to replace. That's why Visa's business is less about selling one product and more about becoming part of the system itself. Think of it like a road. You don't have to sell every car using the road to benefit from the traffic. You can build the infrastructure that lets the traffic move. Visa has spent decades building that infrastructure for payments. And as commerce becomes increasingly digital, that infrastructure becomes increasingly important. So, the company making money while you sleep isn't secretly taking money from your account. The real story is simpler and more powerful. You sleep, people keep buying, and the payment network keeps running. That's what makes Visa's business so interesting. It doesn't need to sell you the product. It needs to remain part of the system that moves the money. But here is the question. As payments become even more digital, will Visa remain this powerful? Or will new technology eventually challenge its network? What do you think? And if you want more stories about the hidden businesses behind everyday technology, subscribe to Ledger Logic.